To talk to Naga Vadrevu. He is the Chief Tech Officer at Wonderschool. He's got an interesting story, and I'm excited to dive in. So, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. Maybe you could just start off and just give us let's go back and tell us how you got involved with computers in the first place.
Yeah. Hey, Chad. Thanks for taking the time. I'll just do a brief introduction. I grew up in India, and in 2000s or late 90s is when we were introduced to computers. And my dad was an electronics engineer, and he always was tweaking things, building on PCs at home, and with really cheap parts. Growing up in India, that was a lot of fun seeing him tinkering with that stuff, and it just was. I was very curious, and him being an engineer, really, he was always trying new things, and we were very attracted to it. We were able to um, build our own things or see our own things, write small programs in COBOL and BASIC, and see cursors move and all of that. That was very exciting as a kid to play with it, and then that really drove my interest of like, okay, how can this add value? And I did my bachelor's in computer science and master's in computer science in University of Houston. That really, um, right from early age, I was very attracted to building stuff.
When did you move to the United States?
I moved around 2008.
Okay. All right, great. And so you get into, so first off, the culture shock from India to the United States. Explain that, describe that to me.
Yeah, I think it was a good culture shock. Purely from I came here to do my master's, and just the way education happens in India is very different from the way education happens in the US. Um, in India, we were more exposed to theoretical uh, concepts. In the US, when I was doing my master's, it was more practical approach. Um, and I really had to recalibrate, and it took me and 6 months to 8 months just to understand how to really think about things. It was very, very pleasant. I like doing things rather than reading about things or like being more theoretical. So it was a natural fit to me, but it took me a while to understand. And then I went to Houston, which was a very fun place. Computer science was a very good program in University of Houston. Um, we had some really great professors who were in the industry, and really teaching us cutting edge stuff. Like this was early 2008. We were taught about unit testing in the college, which was very early in the industry. That really set up foundations when I moved into real world corporate work.
Interesting. And then, so let me ask you a question. You go to that university, you get your master's. At what point does AI? Because really, it's just kind of hit the scene, and it still boggles my mind that people don't use ChatGPT. They don't use the tools the way that that maybe you and I are using them. So it really feels like it should be mainstream. But then when you talk to people, it's not mainstream yet. I mean, there are millions of people that use ChatGPT, but really, that's just like a simple way to use AI. But do you remember when you first were introduced, and when did you start working and really realizing like what's coming?
Um, it's a great question. First of all, I think AI was there like all the way from anything that a machine does. In my perspective, is AI, right? Like we all know that, being in the industry. Um, and then there were subdivisions of AI. There is machine learning, there is LLMs, which is the new world of ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. And there were more traditional rule-based and all of those. All those are subcategories of AI. Traditional rule-based, which existed for a while, machine learning, which is more like supervised and unsupervised learning, and then there is LLMs, which is much more the modern world today, and then there is computer vision and all of that. All those existed for a while, and they were all still very experimental. At least LLMs were non-existent when I was in college, but machine learning was already pretty much um, taking off. We had machine learning courses all the way in 2008, and I could see the value add um, right then. Um, with the way how it could really help with a lot of patterns in the industry, monitoring credit, monitoring risk, or finding patterns, predicting. Like for example, if you have to, hey, what would this house sell for in this zip code? A traditional ML model would do great then. Even then, people were experimenting and doing projects, right? In late 2000s. If you take five more years into it, like 2016, 17, before ChatGPT was publicly available, there was a lot of ChatGPT 2.5 and the older versions that people were experimenting with, which was generating content. That was super exciting. It didn't have as much context as we have now because of the expenses, but it generated a lot of content even back then, that was good enough, but we could see the trends coming quickly. Now that the cost is down, it's like very.
Let me make sure I understand, because I always have used technology, but when they released ChatGPT and I got on it for the first time, I remember the first day I was afraid that they would take it away. And so I had ChatGPT make 100 different blog posts for me. And I remember I did it like in an hour, and I couldn't believe it was so impactful. Are you telling me that before I had that opportunity, you were already using it behind the scenes?
Oh, yes, we were. And a lot of people in the industry were using it, but it was not ChatGPT. It was LLM content. It was not ChatGPT as a product. It was more like I forgot the version of the LLM model. I think it was 2.5. 3 is when they made it public. 2.5 was publicly available, open source. A lot of people had access to open source models, but you had to host it and generate the content by yourself. It was not as good as it is now, that it is so consumer facing, but developers had access to it, and it was not as good as it is today. But we did have access prior to.
Did you
Sorry?
expect it? Did you expect it to be released to the public the way it was?
No, absolutely not. I think I was expecting it to be like 10 years away, but it all got compressed to maybe a year or year and a half. Uh, the other great story is OpenAI itself started as an experiment, non-profit, right? People put a lot of money in it. Hey, go tokenize the whole content of the world and then try to predict what's the next best word. We thought it was an experiment, but it became real, very, very real.
So what happened in your mind when it got released to the public? And within the first couple of weeks, millions of people are signing up for this. Did you realize what was coming? Did you know that them unleashing that to the public, how much of an impact that was going to be? Because it took a while for people to realize what they can do, and I still think people are still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, people are still trying to figure it out. I had a sense of how good it was because even in the early days, it was able to generate a lot of code. And sure, it was very early. It was not as good as it is today, but it's getting better, exponentially better every day because the context windows are getting expanded, which means that it understands the bigger picture of what you're trying to do, purely from a code engineering perspective. Or let's say, for example, um, you could give it like saying, hey, Chad, you probably would have written thousands of articles in your life. Like, hey, ChatGPT, take thousands of my documents from the past, use it in my voice and my language and how I would write it, and write about, I don't know, fintech. It understands all of your 1,000 documents from the past that has all the context when it is writing it. I think those innovations will get better and better and better. Um, in the early days, we did not have so much context because of the cost, but the cost is going down now. It's only going to get better.
Right. How has it changed your job personally?
Oh, my job became more fun, a lot more fun. I haven't been as excited about my job in the last year as I am in the last 15 years. The reason is I started as an engineer and I was getting good as an engineer and then became moved into management and moved into executive leadership and all of that. So I didn't have the time to go back and do the things that I brought me joy, like building code, building products, building systems, because it took a different part of my brain and different part of my time to do it. Now, if I find an hour or two, I just shut down my Slack, my Zoom, and I can just um, have fun writing code or building stuff or delivering some value for customer. Um, Earlier, that took me like just a couple of days to just set up my system, ship things. Now it's in 2 hours, I can do something meaningful that will impact our customers,
So
which
tell
is
are you let's back up your position right now in your company. What is it that you do and how many people do you either report to or that report to you?
Yeah, I'm the Chief Technology Officer. That means I lead all of engineering, data, and AI and DevOps and security at the company. We are roughly around 50 engineers at Wonderschool. Even before at Square, I've led engineering teams of about 100, 120 people. So yeah, I have managers and directors and leadership team that reports to me, and I report to our CEO, which means I think more about the strategic parts of the business. How does engineering help us make a more meaningful impact to our customers? How do we impact revenue? How do we do it really fast? That's where I spend most of my time. And how do I bring technology to our business and increase our revenue? That's my primary day job. That becomes more and more important to the company. But as an engineer at heart, I like to do things. That's where I can do both today in this modern world.
What does your company do? Give us a little idea of what your company does, who your target audience, who are you serving, and like what is it that you're producing?
Great, great. So Wonder School is trying to fix childcare crisis in the US. That's our mission. 0 to 5, kids 0 to 5 go to private care in the US, and K to 12 is publicly funded. There is a lot of opportunity if we provide better, and only 50% of the US has good coverage of childcare in the US. If we provide better childcare access, more parents can be at work. If more parents are at work, um, that increases our economy, it increases our GDP. So there's a direct value prop in if we help the parents and the families and the providers who have kids of 0 to 5, it can really impact our economy. That's what our company does. We work with providers, childcare providers. We work with the state governments and build technology solutions to them.
I'm curious, what's the biggest leadership challenge that you have that you're kind of like that you have to overcome and that you're challenged with?
The biggest leadership challenge today is how do we make sure that our engineering teams embrace these technologies at the speed that they are getting it's the speed that the innovation is happening. The innovation is super real. Every day we find a new way to do things faster, better, cheaper. There are so many research articles that are coming out. There are so many new tooling that's coming out. It's hard for us to evaluate and find what's the most um, impactful thing that I should put my engineering team on that they should learn, or would that get outdated? Um, Putting my time and resources to understand what brings us the biggest leverage, both to engineering speed and velocity, and also to the business. I think that's the biggest challenge that I'm trying to balance.
So I would say when I hear you talk about that, that's like a capability, and it's definitely a huge challenge. And I think it's a challenge that most companies are faced with. I'm a little more curious than you personally. You know, as the head engineer, as a chief tech officer, you got a lot of responsibility. You got a lot of things that will fall on your plate. When it comes to working remote, communication, hiring and firing, having to talk to the CEO, like where would you say personally is a challenge for you that you like need to work on, or that you are working on, or you've had to overcome when it comes to just your leadership skills?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, in terms of my leadership skill, the thing that I am personally working on that um, that can get better and better is probably um, communication. I think communicating in a remote world efficiently is something that I could get better at. Um, Both um, I think it's a multi-dimensional communication, communicating to the engineers, connecting to my peers in finance, in legal or things like those, and communicating to my CEO. The same message has to be translated into different formats for the audience, and that's where I could work on more. I could learn more to make it better and more impactful.
And what would you say would be something that you feel like your team would like them to work on and you'd like to see them improve on when it comes to leadership?
Um, I think my team, I'm fortunate to have a very strong and senior team that reports to me. They're a great group of people that are really passionate about the problem that we are trying to solve. Um, the area that I would want them to be embracing more is take more risks, be more open to trying new things. It's getting better, but as engineers, we are trained to think about things critically. So it's a very good thing that comes to engineers, that they dissect things and think about things critically and build things thoughtfully, which is just the core strength of engineers. But with the modern tooling and AI, you have to break some of your patterns that you have developed over the years, because the change is so quick and so real and so fast. You have to make some compromises in your thought process, and try the tools, see it get better and better.
It's a very
That's what,
hard, it's a very hard thing to do because people are scared to take risks.
yeah.
And I'm not sure what the policies are on your team. You know, what does it take? And one of the first questions I would ask if I go on a team is like, what gets you fired around here? You know, because no one wants to take a risk that could, you know, get them to get their head chopped off and lose their job. And it's nice probably for your team to hear you say that you'd like to see them take more risks. But they're really at the root of that is the fear, and they have to get over the fear of making a mistake and screwing up, and also hoping that you have their back because of the CEO saying what is going on. So can you think of any risks that you've taken that you feel like is a good example of what you would want your team to model?
Oh yeah. Um, I'll give you a very tactical example. The risk that I've taken in the past that has paid off really well, with our AI tooling is, it might sound a little bit. I have a couple of examples, and the one that I really like is, we have when I started, we had a very large engineering team, based out of um, India, US, Canada, all over. And I took two risks. One is I shut down our entire QA department, which is quality analytics, quality assessment team. I shut down that entire division. The reason is, I believe that with more automation and AI, you don't need manual QA or even engineers spending any time on QA. You could automate a lot of those stuff as you're developing. I did that 6 months ago. We haven't had any problems in the quality, CSAT score, and of it. And I feel very proud about that decision. It saved money for the business. We could reinvest that in more engineers and stronger engineers. We could invest that back in the product. But shutting down our QA, it's counterintuitive, but it actually helped improve our product, because engineers took more ownership of quality. Um, the other risks that I took are more around solving some of our customer problems through AI, giving them quick answers or giving them solutions around, hey, I have this problem of password reset. And they usually send a support ticket to our support team. We usually are, oh, we have to make sure that we answer this through a human because we don't want to send a content that is wrong. Um, we took risks of sending automated replies through our content indexing. That's working out really, really well. It started as a manual process, but we are doing it more and more through automation. They're small risks, but they compound, right? Like the cost to service a customer ticket every time they pick up a phone call is probably like $20. But if we auto reply, that cost will go from 20 to 5 or 4. It's hypothetical, but the cost could really go down for the business if you're automating your support calls.
Right. Interesting. And I'm curious, maybe jumping back to something you said earlier, when you get free time with your skills and with your ability to be able to not only use code, but also get code from using AI. What's one of the coolest side projects or things that you would love to be able to do if you had more time, like, or something you started or want to start? Like, give me an idea of something that you're thinking in your head that like kind of shows the entrepreneur spirit that you have.
Yeah, a couple of things. I'll tell you a fun thing and I'll also tell you a meaningful thing. Um, the fun thing that I've been working on the side that has really helped me is me and my daughter like to play chess. I'm teaching her how to play chess, how to get better at it, and that's how both of us bond. Might sound very geeky, but I was able to build a product for us both to try and play things. So it could simulate scenarios of a chessboard, and she plays a certain move, or she can design the board. The chessboard is usually checkered square, but you could design it to have like a pizza and a donut on each one of them, or you could customize your pawns to be donuts. I built a product for her that me and her play together when we play chess. So it's fun for her and engaging for her. It's not production quality, but we both have fun with it. So that's a side project that brings me really joy because something like that would have like in all seriousness, something like that would have taken me 2 3 months of time to build. um I was able to do it over a weekend. And we both have fun doing it now.
Do you teach her how to use it?
I teach her how to play. She's 7 years old. It's too early to teach her how to do it. But I don't think that is far. In 2 3 years, I could definitely teach her how to do it.
Yeah. And probably you won't be teaching her, it will be teaching her.
I'm pretty sure you're right. I don't think you're pretty right about it. It might teach her.
How much do you see the business landscape changing over the next, 12, 24 months? And what do you see coming down the pipeline that the average person does not see coming?
Um, um, there are very few technologies that have transformed our lives. Um, at least purely from a technological standpoint, it was the internet, it was the phone, it was the mobile phone, it was the cloud, and now it's AI. I think AI is probably way bigger than all of them combined, for many reasons. One is it reduces cost, it increases speed. So what it means is you can do things at a much faster level. For example, earlier, if you had to start a company and take something to production and put it in front of your customers, that the total time was an year and a half or something like that. I think some really big VC fund, I think Anderson or Sequoia, one of them put this research together. The time to market for one of these products was probably an year and a half. Not acquisition, but I'm just saying time to product. Like you build a team, build a product, put it in front of customers. It's probably a year and a half. That has dramatically cut down to 2 or 3 months now. What does it mean? That means you don't need a bigger team. You don't need a lot of funding to get products into market. That means more products will be out, more software will be out, more niche software will be out. You might not have really big companies trying to serve a very broad clientele. You could have really niche products that are targeting a very small business. I'm just making it up for this conversation. There could be a software that is very specific to a coffee shop, for example, that could be built by 1 or 2 people that really helps coffee shops become very successful. That's a world that I envision. That means that there'll be more entrepreneurs, there'll be more jobs, there'll be more software, and that's what I think the market is trending towards.
How much do you see it not only enhancing people's jobs, because you're already saying that, but replacing people? I mean, how much of that impact will you see in your own business versus what you just generally know about business and all the automation that can happen that's already happening? People say it's coming, and I always say it's already here. Like, what are you
Yeah,
talking about?
it's already here. Um, I really like this book from Yuval Harris, 21 Lessons for 21st Century. It's a really good book. I think it came out 4 or 5 years ago. I think the things that I really like about it is it says that the innovation is so fast now. Earlier, traditionally, you picked a line of business and you worked in it for 30, 40 years, and you build your career over it, and you learn
Yep.
skills once and you used it for 30, 40 years, and you're done, you're retired, and that's it. Now you have to retrain the workforce every 4 to 5 years because the technology is changing so quickly. I think that's a baseline for all of us. Every 4 or 5 years, we all have to retrain our skills. Probably will become 1 or 2 years, or will become every day in the future. That's the baseline. I don't think we can fight that. So what the workforce won't be replaced; they will be retrained. So every 4 or 5 years, people have to retrain themselves. That includes me. I am retraining myself every day. I used to do my job very differently. Now I do my job very differently in the last 1 year. I think this is happening in the whole market. Um, Everybody is able to do more things in parallel. That means they're acquiring more skills. So you have to be competitive in the market by acquiring more skills. That's the only way to be successful.
But it's interesting because you have such a runway for yourself because you're doing it daily versus somebody who is, for example, an attorney or someone in marketing who's not using the tools and really has spent 10, 15 years mastering their craft. And now you got kids coming out of college who can use different tools and understand how to use this new era of technology, and they can run circles around somebody who's making $200,000 a year, and a CEO is not going to look and care that you've been there 10 or 15 years if you're making 200 grand and you got a kid who can do it for $50,000 and run circles around. And I think the fact that people have to unlearn what they've learned, it's a very difficult thing. You're going through it on a daily basis. You're evolving, but most people are not. And they're scared of it. They're actually scared of it because they're not using it on a daily basis like you are. And when I think about the no code world, when you think about the bubbles and you think about all these platforms that allow the no code, I don't know what's going to happen. I used to think like it's all going to get replaced, and it may be, but I do see like what you're talking about, more of the retraining and enhancing. And I think the people who are getting involved in that now, and they're doing what you're doing, learning on that daily basis, they're creating such a spread compared to the people who are not. And there's going to be a time, and I think it's coming soon, where there's going to be a lot of acute pain where people are going to have to shift, and they
Yeah.
haven't been doing that learning. And that's going to be a very difficult time for a lot of people who make a lot of money, and all of a sudden CEOs are looking at them going, sorry.
That is absolutely right. I think that's a very, very good point. I was talking to a couple of lawyer friends and people who are trying to adopt the technology. There are two sides of the spectrum. Some of the lawyers that I'm talking to is, hey, I'm able to do more business. Instead of taking 10 cases, I could take 30 cases in the same amount of time. That means I'm able to generate more revenue for my firm. That's the people who are adopting. I think those are around 20-25% now. And there are late adopters who are like completely declining it, saying, hey, AI is no quality. The 50% are in the middle, that they're skeptical, they're not ready to adopt it, but they are like thinking about it. My recommendation for that 50% is to run or sprint towards adoption. This is going to stay. Like you said, this is going to stay. This is not going away. It's better to be on the side where you adopt it rather than to fight against it.
How much do you see in this world when you look at the other side, the blockchain, and the whole digital platform that's being created, from social media to tools and just resources, and just does blockchain come into play in your business? Are you interested in learning more about it? Are you learning about it? Do you know a lot about it, or is it something that it's just kind of like the platform that Bitcoin is on and crypto's using, and that's just what it is, and people don't have to know that much about it?
I think it's always good to know what it does from a technology standpoint. I think the decentralized ledger is a really, really nice concept that can translate into many parts of technology. You could have traceability, you can have authenticity, you cannot you cannot tweak the blockchain because it's decentralized ledger. Those are all interesting aspects of as a technologist, that excites me. Blockchain excites me because it's a technology that is valuable in a lot of real world scenarios. Like for example, contracts. You could use contracts through blockchain that cannot be manipulated. Things like those are really exciting to me. They will add a lot of value. There'll be more products developed around it. Um, I think the market is more trending towards AI now because of the cost and the innovation and the venture capital going in that direction. So blockchain has taken a second seat, but doesn't mean it's going away anytime soon.
Yeah, it's interesting because first it was VR, and then they talked about AR, and then you heard all this world about the Web3, and then blockchain and all the crypto and everything, and NFTs kind of went, but then AI kind of just flattened everything out. And I think when people start playing with them, they realize that we don't even know what we don't know. It can get a little scary because you can see how you can lose control over it. And when you hear the big dogs talking about what's been unleashed and you see them all racing towards getting the next big thing, and then you see the videos with robots and how businesses today, you walk into an Amazon plant and that's all you see, it's a little scary. It's a little scary. And I would imagine for people like on your team, engineer teams, I mean, is the goal to add more people or is the goal to replace people?
The goal for it's a great question. The goal for any business is to have high margins, have high revenue. I think the businesses will focus on that, which is the right thing to do. I know it's hard, but it's the right thing to do. Whatever whatever needs to happen for revenue and margins, CEOs and technology leaders will all adopt for it. That does not mean replacing people. It's just meaning saving costs. How can we do it efficiently? How can we do it faster, cheaper than our competitors? I think everybody is looking for that edge to pass on this for the consumers, for the end users. We want to the business wants to make money, but it also wants to pass it on to the consumers so they can attract more to their business. So it's a cycle. To answer your question, businesses want to invest more in people, but they want to invest more in people who have the modern skills, who have the tooling, who are retrained to do these jobs efficiently.
And tell me this, I mean, we talk so much about AI, but in your business especially, give me an idea of when it's just equally important to know when not to use AI.
Oh, that's a great question. That is a very, very good question. Yes, there are a lot of scenarios where um, you have to be very thoughtful in about where you use, right? AI is great for generative stuff. It's great for uh, things that are not deterministic. Um, LLMs by nature are non-deterministic. That means that if you ask it the same question three times, you might get three different answers. And it's getting better and better. You can have constraints around it. You can tighten your prompts. You can have more structure. But when you have deterministic things, you should not use AI. Or I wouldn't say it should not use AI. You should not use LLMs. Um, let's say, for example, you are doing your tax returns by uploading a bunch of like your personal data, like your W-2 or your other business income streams or your rental income streams, and you want to calculate your tax. You don't upload all of this to an LLM and say, hey, generate my tax reports. It could hallucinate. It could not be as deterministic as it's supposed to be. Those are the scenarios where you think about traditional rules-based system. That's a good way to think about it. When you need more deterministic things, you probably want to rely on your traditional rule-based things, but non-deterministic things, you should really adapt AI.
Do you get worried about you or your team using AI in any capacity, from ChatGPT to any of the tools or resources that you use, where you're putting proprietary information from your company into the system? And it's like, we use ChatGPT, like who's getting the information? Like I'm putting my whole stuff in there. It's, now it knows everything. Do you fear that that stuff will get used against you or, leveraged against you in some sort of way?
This is a very, very good question. It's an excellent question. I think the way I think I've thought about a lot about this. I think the only I'll answer it in two ways. One is I think we have to at this moment, at this moment, we have to think about innovation because that is the only way to be competitive for businesses. If people are more worried about, they have to take a little bit of risks. To answer your question earlier, this is the time to take risks. This is the time to innovate. There are ways to mitigate your risks. You can take open source LLMs like OpenLL Llama and things like those. You can self-host them if you want to protect your data. Um, and you can use that for building your own private cloud. You can start hosting your own LLM and then use that for your day-to-day. That is one way to mitigate it. But I would encourage everybody in the industry to start taking more risks in this when particularly it comes to LLMs, and start experimenting with data that you're okay to not PII, of course, experiment with things that you can take risks on, and then think about guardrails. Start building a muscle of innovating with LLMs. Work with data that is not private or PII, and then start thinking about guardrails of how do you create the four walls around your data so it doesn't get exposed. That's the chain of thought I would encourage everybody to go towards, rather than, hey, I need my walls like first before I can start innovating. I think you will be very slow if you approach it that way.
What advice do you have for young professionals coming out of school? They have a degree, but they don't have a job. Like if they want to be into the AI world, they want to be in this race and they want to get a great job that pays a lot. Like what should they do? Where do they look? Where do they start?
Oh wow, I think this is a very relevant question. People are struggling. The young graduates who are graduating now are finding it really hard to get a really good job. It was very different 2 3 years ago during pandemic. People were hiring like crazy all over, and they were looking for engineers, hundreds and thousands of engineers. The market has shifted. I can only predict, but I think what I would recommend for young engineers or young graduates is to think about your job in multi dimensions. If you're an engineer, think about how you would want to build a great customer experience. Think about the product experience. Think about the design experience, and then use your core skills of being able to develop product to showcase how you can impact a customer. I think you need to have more like a T-shaped skill in this market, which is what you get as you grow in your career. Like for example, I've spent 15 years in engineering. Now I have the T-shaped skill. Uh, but unfortunately or fortunately, you need to have the T-shaped skill 6 months or 1 year into your job, or even today before you get into the market, because the speed at which people have to learn has changed. So for young graduates, you should have multidimensional skills. That's the only way to stand out.
Great. All right, last question. Last question. Put your thinking cap on for this one. Like I need you to be a little visionary. If you and we connect next year on May 22nd, 2026. So we're a year out and we're looking back at the past 12 months. What has to happen for you specifically, personally or professionally, for you to be happy with your progress?
Um, I think there are a few things that have to happen. Uh, uh, Personally, I need to be able to understand and use the new technologies at a much deeper level that have a direct impact on our bottom line revenue. It's happening today already, but I should be able to direct line. Meaning, if I hire 2 engineers, I should be able to have, like, for example, 3 million revenue impact on the company, something like that. Or not just 2 engineers, or 2 people in the company, I should be able to have 3 or 4 or 5 million revenue, or have customer impact where the customers are able to save $10 million because we were able to ship 20 different products. I'm just making this numbers up, but essentially what I really mean by it is, if you are investing $10 into our business, we should be able to provide $1,000 value to our customers, and we should probably be able to make $100 out of it. And that is where the market is trending towards, right? Like we are able to do things cheaper and faster. I should be able to drive a direct line towards both of them um, um, by next year. And more from a personal front, I should be able to use these technologies much more they should become part of my daily toolkit. Just like I open Zoom or just like I open Google Doc, it just becomes part of my native toolkit to just start using AI technology. They should be embedded in my everyday workflow.
Yeah. Actually, I have one more question. I'm curious what your prediction is. How long do you think before we see one or two or both of these ideas, the self-driving cars being mainstream and robots in people's houses?
Oh, wow. Uh, um, Self-driving cars are already happening in I work in San Francisco. We have Waymo all over. People come there on weekends. Tourists come there and actually try to get on Waymos, and they're pretty excited about it. Seeing that excitement every day in San Francisco, people come there just to get on. Just like they come to see Golden Gate, people are coming to San Francisco to get on Waymo. And a lot of people have asked me
A
that
lot
they've
of
come.
people, a lot of people don't know what Waymo is. So just tell us
Oh,
really quick.
Oh, Waymo is just like Uber, but without a driver. You can just come to San Francisco, download Waymo as an app, call a car. It shows up without a driver. You can get on it and go anywhere.
So how
Um,
often do you see cars driving by you with no driver?
all the time, all the time. It's
And
not an uncommon sight at all.
I have to tell you, people around the United States don't realize that that's happening. You know that, right? Or do you know that because you're there and like you see it all the time? It's so natural for you. But like I'm in Columbus, Ohio, and you'd never see that.
It's very common for me. And there are some parents that we talk to. There are friends in the industry, and some people send their kids to soccer classes on Waymos. Earlier, they used to send it on Uber, like kids who are like 12, 13, 14, and parents have to drive them to soccer classes or their events on weekends. They just put them on Waymo and then they drop the kids off to their location and they pick them back up. It's a very
So
common thing.
it's been available for a while. Why has it not spread faster?
I can only speculate. This is not my area of expertise, but I think it is the state laws and the city laws that prohibit from taking the risks.
Right.
Um, yeah, that's most likely the reason. But the technology is here, adoption is here, and with any technology, the early adopters are trying to adopt it, and the followers would soon catch up.
Yeah. And what about robots in the houses?
Oh, that's a much more deeper topic. I don't know if people have the trust yet. Um, I would say we already have robots in the houses.
Yeah, maybe there's some.
Alexa, Alexa is a robot. Google Home is a robot. Those are all in the home already. Can they do physical things? That's
Yeah.
the thing that I think we're not too far.
Yeah. Yeah. It's incredible. Well, listen, you have a lot to share. It's a great story that you have, and I'm excited to follow your work and be able to see what you and your team accomplish. Because if there's something that's going to be available, I have a feeling that you're the kind of guy who's going to be the leader out front doing it. And I really appreciate your time today and sharing your knowledge and your experience. Anything else you want to leave us off with?
No, thanks, Chad. Thanks for taking the time. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for all the questions. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the video.
Okay, sounds good. Give me one sec. Thanks.